Hello and welcome to the video. I'm Dan here from Apps Events. We've got Colin from Lightspeed. We just recorded an overview of all the 5 products that Lightspeed have. And today we're going to on this video, we're going to take a quick deep dive into the safeguarding piece, which is 2 products called Filter and Alert. So Colin, do you want to take it away and give us a quick overview?
Absolutely. Thank you for clicking on the next video to dig a bit deeper. When we were prepping the call, we thought if we put it all together in one big monolith, people might drift away. So separate to focus a little bit on Lightspeed Filter. Could you get my slides up, Dan, and we can start having a quick look at Lightspeed Filter. Thanks. So again, this is said in our overview and give a bit of context that Lightspeed Filter is Lightspeed's flagship product. We've been doing content filtering via Lightspeed Filter for about 25 years as a mixture of different technologies, and I'll talk about the technology aspect in a minute. But we're supporting over 20 million students with this, and this is our absolute bread and butter to make sure we provide the best and the most consistent, most specific content filtering designed specifically to support schools and how they're supporting navigating that really sort of golden path of the internet in the classroom, making sure students are not overblocked from where they can access the right tools they need for learning, but at the same time, those harmful or those other aspects of the internet that we want to keep them away from, they are indeed kept away from. Yeah, we like to think about in that what we're really delivering is 2 things there. Most of the markets and territories across those following sort of more British curriculum, those following American curriculums, know that they have a sort of regulatory requirement, a compliance factor, that they need to have some level of content filtering. We go well beyond that. We want to make sure that's clear. You can definitely meet that basic level of compliance and requirement with a corporate solution at your firewall, but it's not really what your teachers are clamoring for. They're clamoring for more flexibility and control. They want to have more granular policies. Examples like mature art. That's one of our categories. So, more mature art content. Is that something that should be blocked? Is that something should be allowed? Well, the answer is yes and no. It should be allowed for those studying those courses and those curriculums, Dan. But does a grade 6, a year 6 or grade 5 pupil need to see that? Probably not. That flexibility is important. We try and deliver that across our whole suite. And of course, that comes from having really precise categories so that you're able to get a position to you've got filtering that defines it in such terms. And more recently, we're getting into the difference between, say, detective AI tools and generative AI tools, or even how you break down computing games into games, educational games, and then even separate esports categories and that sort of precision as well. And the aim, I guess, here is to make sure that you're getting to that golden thread faster. You're making sure that you have the right things accessible and the right things blocked. And that none more, of course, from a cybersecurity perspective as well. We're certainly not an antivirus, but where you're looking to put cybersecurity protections in place, and you're clicking on a URL that may be harmful, there's a chance that we've seen that before. And we're categorizing about 150,000 URLs every day into our database of potential items, many of them from a cybersecurity threat perspective, where we're able to add those to our block lists.
Fantastic.
And then, of course, you've done all the hard work. The devices have been filtered appropriately, but actually getting the information out of there can be troublesome for many schools and many teachers. Many IT teams we still see today are emailing across to educational leaders. Here is what happened on the internet this week. Here is a CSV file that they need to be able to interpret. And we really don't take that approach. We're trying to get the education and IT leaders all into our central dashboard, which is designed in a way that makes it very easy for those to see and use and click and manipulate, get down to the granular detail if that's what they want to do, or stay at the high level, understanding even things like, well, what percentage of the browsing activity that's happening in my school is coming from educational categories and education-specific elements. And that comes from the dashboards and the advanced reporting that we're able to pull across Lightspeed Filter. getting into now more of the specifics here of why you would look at Lightspeed Filter as opposed to other places. We're doing the same things but better, but then you get to a functionality like that we deliver with something we call Smart Play. But this centers specifically around YouTube. So the idea that restricted mode is a thing on YouTube, where Google are ultimately via the content uploader deciding what level of maturity is appropriate.
Yep.
And Dan, you will have to do that when you upload this video. Is it suitable for kids? Is it not? Is it mature? And you make that call. And not that it's set in stone forevermore, but it is very hard to change. And a teacher certainly in the moment, in the heat of battle, in a classroom lesson, or even prepping for a lesson coming up in a number of weeks, has got very little control over what is available on YouTube. Smart Play is us taking control back of that categorization. We're using caption files, we're using screenshots, we're using metadata and information to try and do our own categorization of those YouTube videos. So we're trying to showcase what is going to add educational value, what isn't. But if we do get it wrong, or indeed if we've not just it's brand new YouTube content, we're also giving you that ability to have a custom allow and a custom block list for YouTube videos and channels. So whitelisting those teacher channels that sometimes don't get pulled through is a really sort of common setup and a real big benefit for the schools that are using Lightspeed Filter.
Fantastic.
I mentioned at the beginning around the technology, and it's key to talk about, because one of the things that we're leveraging, we call it a smart agent, but ultimately it's something that we install on the device. On a Windows and Mac machine, it is an installable file. On a Chromebook, it's an extension, and on iOS, it's what we call the web content filter payload installed by MDM. But in all of those scenarios, it means that filtering is happening on the device. So the student tries to browse something in Chrome. Before the traffic leaves the device, a decision has been made as to whether that content is going to be suitable or not. So it doesn't matter if they're connected to the network in the school, if they're at the coffee shop, or if they're at home. If they try and connect to their hotspot, we're going to have it protected and make sure that we have it there. And that works really well when you've got a school-owned device where it's managed and controlled. It also works really well in a managed BYOD perspective, where when a school has a BYOD program, they sort of mandate that level of enrollment into a device tool is there, and it maybe goes into admin console if it's a Chromebook, or into the MDM. But for outside of that, we do also provide network level filtering for the school, using all the same technologies, using all of the same reporting, so all of it's in one central place, and a very robust thing. I'm not going to dive into radius authentication and captive portals today, but our engineering team will delight in talking about some of those aspects at the right time, Dan, with some of the customers that you've got. So all in all, I say we look to see that it's quite comprehensive. There's a few other things you'll see on screen that I haven't called out about, access for a parent portal, for example, up in that top corner, or the ability to have delegated admin roles. I think it speaks to our size and scale again, where over 20 million students, 28,000 schools who have asked and poked and prodded and went, Lightspeed Filter's great, but wouldn't it be better if it did this? And we've iterated on the product for so many years now that you find a really comprehensive functionality set that's really designed to support IT admins, to really support educators as well. And I wanted to give you a little bit of a behind the curtain on that, if I could do. I was going to hop over and give you a little bit of a demo, if that's okay.
Fantastic.
I'll show it to you in real life.
Great.
It's just some behind the scenes trickery here to get me moved across.
There we go.
But this is the first glimpse. Here we go. First glimpse, I guess, into the Lightspeed platform. And I mentioned previously, Dan, to you that although you're looking at a filter report here, this is the same platform for our classroom management, for our MDM, for the alerting tool we'll roll on to talk about in just a moment or two as well. But again, giving that flexibility and giving people a bit of a sort of a look behind the scenes is always appreciated, I think, on options like this. I'm going to start by calling out what you're seeing on the home page a little bit. We have the group selector up here. What's really neat about the group selector is it's mirroring the Google OU structure, or Active Directory if you prefer, giving you granularity at each of those potential levels. Anytime where you see a level here, you can see reports just for the people who are in that group. And you can also set every single setting at that level in that group. You would
And
just
this is
choose
synchronizing with the OUs on Google Workspace.
Absolutely. That's our primary use case. It syncs with that. And then, of course, it will also sync with Google Classroom if you want to use our classroom management functionality. But when people talk filtering, usually the OU structure is the one that they want to look at. And you can just make that selection, and that will then update in real time all of the statistics that you've got to pull through.
Yep.
Of course, you can also look back from a time selector. We're just seeing yesterday's report here, but you can quickly, swap it over with some of the preset times that we've got here in the top corner, or you can aggregate data. We've got an unlimited retention period. You can go back in time to be able to see what was going on previously. Any of the options you see, pretty much everything you're seeing in Lightspeed Filter is clickable, and no so more than the Internet Overview report, where you're getting some graphs and statistics. But I really love these activity bars. These are our sort of category groups. We've got a lot of categories that sit under education, for example, but we roll them up to give that high-level statistic to go 74% of browsing this week or in this time period over the last day has been going to the educational content. That's a pretty good metric for an education leader to be able to pull pretty quickly about what's going on their network and what's going on digital devices in their classrooms. But perhaps they're more concerned, say, about that 0.4 social media. Need to learn more. It's clickable. We just click into any of the categories and we can understand what is making up that traffic, from which groups, these particular year groups or particular schools that are causing concern here, and what the websites are. 2,000 hits to Facebook. Interesting. I'm going to click to learn more. I go deeper, and it's now going to give me the report specifically to Facebook. Are there certain subdomains or sub pages that are getting viewed? But mainly here, who are the users that are actually using this? And we can see who they are. That there's been how the traffic breaks down by user. If we want to then dig a little bit more detailed into, say, Julie, we can pull out any of the users to get now the usage report just for that individual student. So we can get some of the same sort of high level info. If we do want all of the detail and all of the stats, they're absolutely available. And all of the collection of information lives behind the scenes. But from a higher level, we're able to showcase all of the statistics that you might want to look up for Julie. That's a very typical example, I guess, Dan. And of course, if you wanted to just go straight there, the search bar for users is right there at any given time. So there's other reports in there, loads of detail that I'm not going to dive into just now. The other one, of course, referencing what I said about Smart Play, is, of course, being able to see all of the individualized videos, and perhaps we've got the opinion that, let me see if I can find one I wouldn't really like. This Minecraft video, interesting. Not sure why that's there. I can just come directly here and I have a block button. If I seeing this video is trending high in my school and it really isn't appropriate, let me get it on the block list. Fantastic. I can just with one click add that block and block that one down. Giving you some more on the video aspect, just since I'm talking about it, here's a little bit of the behind the scenes on what that looks like. You can see here that we've got some settings locked. That's because I'm down here at a subgroup. This really helps the IT admins keep the sort of settings they don't want anyone to touch locked away. But because I'm the super admin, I can hop right back to the top if I want. And you can see this functionality would be then returned to me. So I'm allowed to make some of those changes. Here is, of course, where you can manipulate that YouTube experience around hiding comments, thumbnails, sidebar, or indeed, you'll be able to see that in the custom block list, that Minecraft video is already in here that I added separately too. And doing that for videos is great. Adding it for channels is even better, to stop, say, the latest Mr. Beast video being the one that comes out, if indeed that is exactly how you want to filter the internet. Last bit to really showcase in this really high-level demo, I guess, of Lightspeed Filter is that depth of those rules. And this is the policy settings where the configuration really happens. Calling out that things like a read-only mode for social media are housed in here if that's what you want to deploy. And then each of our categories, you're getting a really easy way to think about how you are categorizing this. Is it going to be allowed or is it going to be blocked? And it's the depth, I guess, I wanted you to kind of, as I finish off this demo, to the depth of that category level I wanted to kind of reinforce as I finish here, that we're really trying to give that precision filtering by having, I think there's over 110 categories in the list that you could potentially want here. And the list does go on and on, which is a real benefit. Obviously, out of the box, Lightspeed are setting those by default for schools, but getting that granular configuration and things like adding custom categories or adding custom allow and block lists, or all the functions you would expect are there under the hood as well. And of course, fully deployable in school, and you can set a change at say 4 p.m. when it turns to after school, that you can set different rules too.
Fantastic.
So a bit of a whiz around Lightspeed Filter. I appreciate that. You maybe here, Dan, you have been subjected to it a couple of times. I can talk my way around Lightspeed Filter a little bit more.
We really covered most things in detail, so that's really good. Thanks very much, Colin. Do we have time for a quick look at Alert, just so we can see that as well?
We absolutely do. I mean, ultimately, it's housed in the same interface here. The purpose of Lightspeed Alert is giving you that proactive element, because as much as we can provide the best reporting ever, the reality is if you're not sitting and clicking refresh, there is a potential chance that you're going to miss something. And most commonly, we hear from schools that they maybe get an opportunity to check in with the web filtering at a high level daily, but maybe a deeper dive maybe once a week, where they can really do what I did and go and have a good look. But things do happen that are concerning in between that. And, we see, and I've got personal examples of when students are searching for ways to harm themselves, or about thinking about committing violence to others, right up to uploading explicit imagery into Google Drive, or indeed, bullying within a Google Doc, and being able to surface that information in the moment when it's a low-level thing allows us to take action more immediately. So again, within the report, the eagle-eyed would have seen it. That alert is buried in here as part of our reporting, but it is ultimately giving you a case management system for exactly these type of events. By default, we're analyzing what is typed on the device, or what is typed and uploaded into either the Google Workspace environment using API access, or it will do 365 as well, and it can do both if you have access to both. It's analyzing that and making a decision. It's not just looking at an individual word. It's looking sort of to develop via machine learning model, the confidence that there is a real risk here, or a real element. So building that confidence, we get a threshold where you're going to get a case generated ultimately. But it will continue to level up. So if we go up to a medium or high level case, we also have a human review team who will start to look at those cases on behalf of the school, to really work out, is there an immediate threat of harm to someone here?
Got it.
If there isn't, you're getting a paragraph kind of report about those cases, so extra detail. They've done the digging, they've looked at the case, they've looked at the history of the student a little bit more, and they're happy just to give you a bit of a report. But of course, in those cases where there is an imminent threat, and as you crunch all of our numbers around alerts down to the funnel of exactly those imminent threats, somewhere in the region of 25,000 times in 2023, we had to make a call to go, spidey senses are off here a little bit. As a school, there's something here that we need you to take action on. There's a risk that this young person is going to harm themselves or others rather imminently, and we want you to look at this right now. And those escalation call lists are something that we can be really flexible with, to make sure that we get through to the right person who has the right context around that young person, to be able to get them the support they need.
Fantastic. And Colin, do any schools choose Alert but not Filter, or do they always have Alert on top of Filter?
Great question. I mean, they always have Alert on top of some level of content filtering. But one of the only stories or the ways we kind of get it is around, there's a contractual element to what they're doing with content filtering, or there is an element where they are getting that protection from their firewall already, and from a financial reason, they can't look to move their content filter yet. But actually, the Google Workspace domain is a real black hole for them. It's a blind spot that they've got no visibility to. So they could look to, onboard with Lightspeed, enroll their users from Google Workspace really easily. They could look to deploy the extension to their Chromebooks really easily. They could look to ultimately give that API access and start getting alerts across the Workspace tenancy really easily as well for them to flow in here and give that scenario. Appreciate we're pushed for time, and I don't want to spend too long looking at some of their harder elements, but just showcasing the sort of timeline nature of the case to give you the broader content here. Be that's text that's concerning out of a Google Doc, something that's typed in a search engine, or indeed the fact that they kind of back up and stack up against each other increases that confidence ratio in the machine learning model that, hey, there's something here, to search this and then to search for different pieces of information. Getting clarity here, being able to assign the right people is important, and also sort of closing out cases with an auditable comment to say, to be able to understand exactly what action was taken is a really powerful tool.
Yeah.
But that gives you a bit of an insight. Again, there's a lot of more specifics to people's schools context that I would want to discuss. If one of the Apps Events schools or someone who's watching this wants to get in touch with Apps Events, we would want to discuss about how we set this up for your school. But an incredibly powerful duo of technologies actually in Lightspeed and Filter and Lightspeed Alert that we see helping in a really, really powerful way for schools.
Great. Well, Colin, thank you very much. That was a really good overview of Filter and Alert. So thank you very much for that. And let us know if you'd like a video on any of the other products. We will do it very shortly. But Colin, thanks for your time.
My absolute pleasure, Dan. Speak to you soon.